Hello everyone, how's it going? My name is Elias, and in today's video, I'm going to be doing the mid-year book freakout tag, as I and practically almost every other booktuber do every year. So I'm really excited to do this tag because I'm a sucker for statistics, specifically in anything bookish. I want to know how many books you've read, how many pages, what genres, what are your favorite books, your worst books, all the surprises. I'm just that nosy bitch, so give it all to me, you know? And I also think it's just really interesting and really cool and fun to see, you know, just to reflect all the books you have read and consumed in the first half of the year. Today is no different. I'm first going to go through Storygraph and then go through the rest of the questions for the tag. This is going to be fun. It's actually been a while since I filmed the video, considering I'm in my short hair era now, because I just got, you know, so tired of my long hair. I had to put it up every single day, and plus we're in the full force of summer. It's been getting real hot here, so it had to go. So I chopped it all off and got a Korean perm. So I guess you can sort of say I'm back to my roots now in that way. So before we get further into the video, I would like to take a moment to thank today's video sponsor, Book of the Month. You guys all already know I love Book of the Month. I love working with them. Essentially, they're a book subscription service where every month their team chooses 5 to 7 books from different authors, from different genres, so that you can spend more time reading and less time researching. Whatever and how many books you choose, you receive a blue box, just like so. What's really great about them is that they're entirely risk-free, so you can skip that month if you're not really feeling it. They honestly have the best prices for any newly released hardcover book out there. So if you want to get your first book for only $9.99, you can use my code ELIAS. Another really cool thing I want to bring up with Book of the Month is that they now have a podcast. A podcast called the Virtual Book Tour. I mean, how cool is that, honestly? What's next now? A music video? A movie? A TV show? Honestly, anything can happen at this point, and I won't be surprised anymore. What's really cool about this podcast is that it's led by the Book of the Month editorial team, and it's recorded live in front of an audience at the Book of the Month HQ in New York City, which I'm just like, props. Huge props to you guys, because anything live, I just get all the jitters. I get so much anxiety. There was this one time, I mean, we're going off tangent here, but there was this one time where I was interviewing Malcolm Gladwell for the YouTube BookTube series, and I just remember, out of all the cast members there, the director had to yell cut when it came to my parts so many times because I was sweating so much, and the makeup lady had to constantly come up to me and just, you know, dab all the jitters and all the sweat away. It was just, honestly, frankly embarrassing, but that just goes to tell you that I will basically never, ever become an actor or just do well in front of like these large scale cameras or anything live. So huge props to the editorial team for taking that on. So on the podcast, I talk with authors who also have been selections for Book of the Month, you know, going to their minds, their ideas, what has inspired them to tell this certain story and why, just all the interesting backstory and the reckoning force of what drives them. So it's all really great, really interesting. It's also all available to listen to on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. All right, and with that being said, I just want to quickly go over through the selections that I picked out for this month. All right, so first up we have a thriller called You're Invited. This one is about the main character whose ex-boyfriend is marrying her childhood best friend. However, when her childhood best friend ends up missing and presumed dead, with all of the signs and evidence pointing to our main character as the murderer, she basically has to find out who the real killer is while also having a target on her back. So this sounds very interesting. And the other selection that I chose is called Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. I was initially intrigued by the cover, and I heard that so many people have actually already read this and really loved it, so that has got me hyped up even more. It follows these two friends who essentially create a video game which explodes in massive success, and with that it brings them joy, tragedy, duplicity, and some sort of immortality. And that is pretty much all I know about it, but as someone who plays, you know, a lot of games in their free time, I'm very curious and interested to see just the world of gaming itself in general, how it's developed and how it's built in this book, and so I'm very excited to dive into this one. Alright, with that being said, everything will be linked down below, and thank you once again to Book of the Month for sponsoring today's video. Alright, so first off, we're going to start off with Storygraph, because they have the perfect information when it comes to reading statistics. My reading goal for this year is 100 books, which I think I might either be caught up or surpass, or maybe I'm just thinking it all wrong and maybe I'm actually really behind. But as of this date, the day I'm filming this video, I've actually already read 43 books already, so almost 50 books halfway through the year. Majority of those books are actually contrived of manga, so I actually haven't logged them on to like Goodreads or Storygraph, just because I feel like the numbers won't impact as much on the stats as I think it would, but I have logged on most of the physical books that I've read so far this year. So biggest mood for me would be adventurous, dark, educational, and mysterious, which sounds on brand actually. And my reading pace is medium, 47%, which is not that bad. Page number is interesting because 61% of the books I read are anywhere from 300 to 500 pages. And 17% are books that I read more than 500 pages, which I can see why, coming from the amount of fantasy books that I've read this year. As for fiction and nonfiction, 100% fiction. I honestly cannot do nonfiction as well as fiction just because I'm always looking for some sort of escapism. I just want to escape reality because reality sucks. Okay, for genres, I feel like manga would actually take the top spot in this, but again, I haven't logged all the manga books that I have read, but going off of here, it says fantasy, young adult, which is surprising. I didn't think I read a lot of YA as I did, but we also have science fiction and literary horror, and it goes down and so on. YA and science fiction. Science fiction is literally, I felt like, my most least read genre, and surprisingly, contemporary and mystery and thriller are like my least read genres so far this year. Hoping to change some of that up in the later half of the year. As for my most read authors, it would probably be the authors Spy Family, Chainsaw Man, and Robin Hobb, considering I've read 4 of her books, and I'm actually on the 5th book right now as we speak. So, as for my average star rating, it is a 3.28, kind of rather low, but I have read more 4-star reads than 3 stars and 2 stars, and perhaps only 1 book that I rated 5 stars. Interesting. I'm hoping to read better books later in the year, but I guess we'll have to see. All right, and so that is essentially all the stats that I have on my story graph. I essentially only use story graph to record my reading stats and goals, but actually use Goodreads to formulate and read and write my reviews. All right, so here we go. I have the questions on my phone, and the first one is best book you have read so far in 2022. All right, so this one is actually gonna be Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. This book, 5 out of 5 stars. Immediately, one of the most interesting and different books I've ever read. And honestly, the most different, I think, from any of the 5-star reads. This book, in of itself, is just on a whole nother level. This is the type of book, I swear to you, where the less you know, the better it'll be for you. Don't even read what this book is about. Just know that it's a little magical book full of life and promises, and that's all I'm gonna say. Because I feel like the less you know going in, the more you'll be rewarded. This book is also so short as well, less than 250 pages, but I feel like the length itself didn't even come into full factor with me, just because I felt like I read and garnered so much from this little tiny book in general, from the stories that were told in here, the characters, the lives that were led, the places, the location, everything about it is just immeasurable, okay? Key word there, immeasurable. So yeah, that is my super vague, spoiler-free review on why you should read this book. It's literally one of my favorite books of all time. I think it might even surpass Song of Achilles for me at this point. If I had to rank my top 3 favorites right now, I think it would probably be The Starless Sea, Piranesi, and then Song of Achilles. I mean, that list is subject to change at any point in given time, but please do yourself a favor and go and read this book. You will not regret it. It is just so mind-blowing, but in a very peaceful way. Very chaotic as well, but in a very sublime and low-key, tonally kind of way. That didn't really make any sense, but once you read it, you'll fully get it. Trust me, okay? Trust, okay? For real. Also, I have a really, really cool announcement regarding Piranesi in general. So you can leave your guesses down below as to what that announcement is, or what you think it is, or you can just wait because it'll come soon. But I'm very, very excited to give you an announcement regarding Piranesi in general, okay? All right, so number 2 is best sequel you've read so far. All right, for this one, I gave this book 4.5 out of 5, and this one has got to be Royal Assassin by Robin Hobb. This book was just fucking nuts. The ending to this book had me screaming. I genuinely believe if I did not have the 3rd book after reading the ending to this book, let's just say if the world was ending and going to shit and the apocalypse was here, I wouldn't even care less. I would literally go and drive out to find the 3rd copy of this book because, trust me, when it comes to the ending of the 2nd book, you will need the 3rd book. It is just brutal. Brutal. One of the most brutal cliffhangers I have ever just witnessed, read, and just experienced in general. I think also for me in general, for this whole trilogy, this was probably my favorite out of the 3 books, but I actually made a whole dedicated video talking about the series and what I felt about it, spoiler and spoiler-free as well. So you can actually go ahead and check that out because it is actually, honestly, one of the best fantasy trilogies I've ever yet to read. So there you go. All right, so number 3 is new release you haven't read yet but want to. All right, so for this one, I'm gonna go basic and go with The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager. So I'm actually gonna be reading this with Kayla for the Literally Dead book club. Very excited because Riley Sager, to me, up until Survive the Night, was like one of my most favorite thriller authors. You know, he still could be. Actually, he still kind of is, considering, you know, I loved most of his thriller books in general. But when it came to Survive the Night, oh my god, I felt like I was the one who actually survived the night reading that book because it was absolutely one of the worst fucking thrillers I've ever read in my life. It got me mad. It got me so mad. Made it to the top worst books I read in 2021. Truly hoping that it would not be another occurrence for this book. But from the reviews I have read and from the people that have been telling me how they felt about this book, I am very scared going in. But for now, I am staying away off of Goodreads, off of any reviews regarding this book, because I don't want to know. I want to go in without knowing pretty much anything and just formulating my own thoughts and opinions regarding this book, because I don't know, this is the type of book that could make it or break it for me, so we'll see. Alright, so number 4 is most anticipated release for the second half of the year. For this one, I'm actually pretty excited to read a few of the books on this list. One is Clown in the Cornfield 2. I cannot believe that this book is getting a sequel. The first book essentially followed a murderous clown just butchering and slaying kids left and right. In a small town, in a cornfield. It was great, brutal, bloody, and awesome. Was here for a good time, and I got it, and it was great. Didn't really think too much about it, let alone upon it having a sequel. That's very exciting because it's also coming around during Halloween, so I think it's just like a perfect time and a perfect book if it lives up to like the kills and all the blood and all the gore. So here for it. The other one is also YA called A Wildness of Stars, and this is by the same author that wrote A History of Wild Places, Shay Earnshaw, I believe. I pretty much read all of her books and have loved and liked every single one, and so very excited and looking forward to this one because it sounds very whimsical and magical as well. What I really like about her books is that they're very slow. The other one is Soul Taken, which will be the 15th 14th book in the Mercy Thompson series by Patricia Briggs. This one is coming out in August and I'm very excited for it. Last but not least, we have Babel, which is pretty much on everyone's list, and this one is getting a lot of hype, and so we shall see. Considering I never finished the Poppy War trilogy, let alone even liking the first book as much as other people did, because I think I gave the first book of the Poppy War like 3 stars. I thought it was good, but it wasn't as great as I thought it would be, you know, contrast to all the glowing reviews that this book had, but that's just my personal opinion. And so this will literally be my second book going into for this author. But when it comes to secret societies and academia, I'm all here for it. So, alright, so number 5 is biggest disappointment. Alright, so I don't just have one, I have like 4 disappointing books that I read so far this year. The first book, I don't even have anymore. I think I gave it away because I just did not like it at all, but I'll leave the cover somewhere on the screen, and that book is Defy the Knights. I think it's a very low stakes, low energy, low key, low tone, low everything kind of fantasy story. It's a very introductory story, which I think is really great for anyone new to the fantasy genre, but only in the YA sense category, whatever, you know? I feel like there are so many other good fantasy books out there. I don't even remember what this book is about or why I even hated it so much. I just remember not liking it. But I think that's pretty much all I'm going to say. We're going to move on. So we're just going to quickly go through these before we talk about the main one. And first up is Loveless by Alice Oseman. I thought it was okay, in my opinion. I don't think I enjoyed it as much as other people. And I felt like it was very, maybe two-dimensional in terms of like character dialogue, characters in general. And that's pretty much all I'm going to say about it. So, alright, the next one is Reprieve, and I read this for the Late Night Book Club, and I thought it was also okay in that regard. I felt like this was like falsely marketed just because I thought we were getting like a thriller or like a ghost story in like this escape room that was haunted or whatever, and all we got were just these characters and their flashbacks that took up like 80% of the book. In the beginning of the book, you already know who died and sort of like why in that way, and essentially it was just this really long and bland backstory in of itself, and that was pretty much it. There were like no twists, no turns, nothing in that regard. So very disappointed in that fact. And oh my god, last but not least is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. This book fucking killed me. I truly do not understand the hype that it got. This one blew up on TikTok and so many people were saying it was so good. And guys, I don't consider myself like a really well-seasoned thriller, you know, reader at all, okay? But when it came to this one, it truly astounded me the amount of love and hype that it got. Like, I did not understand. The main character to me, she was so fucking stupid. She did so many things in here that could have gotten her killed or in trouble that truly did not make any sense to me whatsoever. The precautions, the choices, the steps that were made to ensure like plan A goes to plan B or doing this instead of that, I was truly infuriated, okay? It was just... Anyways, that's all I'm gonna say. I gave this book like 1.5 out of 5 stars. I think this is so far my worst book that I have read this year. I think this is honestly truly the only 1-star book that I've read. So, there you go. Alright, number 6 is Biggest Surprise. First up, Frankenstein. This one truly took me by surprise because I was not expecting to love this one as much as I did. Everything about it, the writing, the story, the characters, I think for me, it's truly the characters, the characterization, and the atmosphere that this book held. Like Mary Shelley at the time that she wrote this was like what, only 19 or something? Truly astounding. Like the pure talent that she has is just incredible. You all know the story of Frankenstein, right? I thought I knew the story of Frankenstein. I read the abridged version, but I feel like upon reading it, there was just so much I didn't know about Frankenstein, aka Adam. If you know, you know, okay? I feel like Frankenstein in itself was just, no, not Frankenstein. The monster in itself was just so misguided, misjudged, sort of relatable in that sense, if you will. It was just really funny because me, throughout reading this book, I was like, you know what? It's okay. Frankie, Adam, I can change him. I can change you, you know, for the better. I mean, think about it. Adam in itself could be like a walking model, walking that catwalk, that runway, and killing it. I just know it. So Adam, I am here for you. It was strong 4 out of 5 for me. I also want to give a notable shout out to another surprise called House of Hollow. This is another YA book, and it was just so dark and mysterious, very edgy. It sort of had that sophisticated edge that most YA books don't when it came to this certain genre of like magical realism, being dark, mysterious. It sort of falls in line with that clean girl aesthetic look. You know that look on TikTok where it's just like that slicked hair back with like those gold hoop earrings? The look that I literally wore, I guess, when it came to like previous videos. It sort of reminded me of that aesthetic. It's sort of like a positive reinforcement kind of look. I truly don't know if that made any type of sense, but this book is sort of like a fairy tale like version that got dark super quickly and a lot more mature as well with the character choices that were handled. So I really liked it. I liked how it was sort of like a standalone as well. I liked how there was like very little to no romance in this, and it's just a vibe, you know, good vibes. So next one, number 7, favorite new author, debut, or new to you. It's actually kind of funny because I felt like I read like the Farseer trilogy like last year or something like that. But no, I read them like all this year, and they're just all really good favorites, good reads. Like I love all the books, but I guess I can safely say that Robin Hobb is truly another favorite author of mine because, you know, loved all of her books, love her writing. Her writing is just impeccable. She has real talent, true talent. The fact that she has written like a 1,000-page book, like subsequently that comes out every year after each other is just fucking insane to me, okay? So I love her books, I love her characters, everything about it. And so Robin Hobb, you the OG. Number 8 is newest favorite character. I would probably go with Piranesi from Piranesi. If you know, you know. That's all I'm gonna say. Pure, intelligent, just overall very wholesome, someone you want to protect and love, okay? And the other character is probably Anya from Spy Family. Just adorable, funny, pragmatic, everything. She's just hilarious. And so if you have watched or read Spy Family, you would know as well. So number 9 is a book that made you cry, but I'm actually going to change this by going with The Feels instead. And for this one, I'm actually going none other than Piranesi. Again, this one just hit me in all the right feels, and even in the feels that I didn't even know that I could experience reading this book. I know that sounded so vague and so fake. You just gotta take my word for it. Okay, if you're here as a regular viewer and you trust my recommendations, this is the type of book where I would recommend to people who want to read books based on like my tastes, my reading tastes. Like this fit everything 100%. This one was also so different from like almost any other book that I've read before, and I absolutely love that about it. And so if you're here looking for that type of different vibe, that type of different book, you got it right here, Piranesi. All right, number 10 is a book that made you happy. For this one, I'm gonna go with Ice Planet Barbarians. Yes, I actually went there. Okay, let me clear things up. When I say happy, it's not like the good feeling, pure, wholesome happiness. This is more of sort of that entertaining, happy vibe. This is the sort of happiness when you're reading a book that doesn't require any sort of brain power. You're just going through with it, and it just has the right amount of vibes for you there to sort of enjoy that ride. And this book was that ride for me. Even though the things that happened in this book were abhorrent with the characters and some of the conversations that they had and what they believe in, I honestly somewhat had an enjoyable time reading this. I actually made a whole dedicated reading vlog for this book, so you actually can go ahead and check that out. This is like book 1 out of 22 or 23. Safe to say that I will not be checking out the rest of the books in the series, but in itself, am I glad that I read this book? Sure. Would I have ever picked it up if it weren't for like book talk or seeing it around a booktube? No. So we're just gonna leave it at that. But yeah. Number 11 is most beautiful book you've bought so far this year or received. For this one, I'm actually gonna go with my Spy Family manga collection because the teal like coloring that they have in the characters on each like cover is just chef's kiss. So great. I actually did like a whole manga collection as well because I actually showcased every single individual cover for each volume in that video, so you can definitely check it out. Also another one would probably be Mob Psycho 100 as well. So Alright, number 12, last and not least, is what books do you need to read by the end of the year? Alright, so I'm going to be cliched and very basic and answer every single book that I need to read that I posted on my summer TBR, because every book on that list I think was the most important to me that I wanted to get to throughout this year. So all the books that I posted on there, as well as some of the books that I have on my secret TBR that you're going to see, hopefully that you're going to see in a future video. This will be a like secret experimental TBR that I'll be doing. Hoping it goes well. So far, I haven't started yet, but I'm hoping to get it up by next month. So there you go. But yeah, please let me know down in the comments below your answers to these questions. I would love to know because, like I said before, I'm a nosy bitch when it comes to these type of things. So thank you so much for watching, guys, and I will see you all soon with a new video. Just know that it's a no. But I feel like even though, but I feel like, but I feel like the length, but I feel like the length, I feel like if I did not, I feel like if I genuinely believe. Alright, number 10 is a book that made you